Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man that bought an entire airline so that we could record this episode on a flight from Atlanta to Toronto. It's Phil Briggs.
It's been such a blast to be on Movies, Films, and Flicks over the last, I don't know, I think we've been doing these for like over a year together now.
Yeah, at least.
Like
yeah, maybe 1 or 2 years for sure.
And it was like, I wanted to get a few under my belt before we did Inception. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, we got to save that one. I wasn't ready for Inception at the beginning, but it feels like the right time. 'Cause for me, man, this is a special movie.
Jeez. And listen, I just want to say, when we did the Collateral episode, you started a taxi cab business that got you deep into debt, right? Horribly deep into debt.
Who would have thought that driving a cab onto a yacht with, tigers as your co-pilots, and I think we had DJ Roombas driving around in the bottom of the cab
to
gotta
keep it clean
at all times. Who would have thought that wouldn't have been a great business idea?
So, like that got you into deep debt. But now you just bought an airline for us to record this episode on. So I feel like you're almost in, like, when you're in limbo right now with debt collectors. So it's kind of like, when you take a dream, it's like 1 minute equals 6 minutes. When you go to the second one, it's 1 minute equals two hours. When you go to the third one, it's 1 minute equals 6 hours. Like, you're there with debt.
I just
right
keep
now.
going deeper and deeper into the different dream, like different levels of dreams, and just borrowing more money from each of the lending institutions at the various levels of consciousness.
You've gone so deep that you've made up buildings and you have mortgages on all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You own the subconscious debt collectors a lot of money.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And they're like the projections, like chasing me around, and I'm getting stuck in the narrow walls trying to get away. I guess they haven't quite caught up to me yet.
People come up to you, "Are you Phil Briggs? You've been served," and then they run away, and you're like, "No, You're just a projection." But now I have a question. Whenever you watch Inception, I always forget whenever I watch this movie that this movie features bathroom fight Leo. This movie features foot chase Leo. This movie features sniper Leo. When I think about him, I know he did Blood Diamond, but I never think of him as a combat presence. I think of him in Revolutionary Road, Titanic, like Romeo and Juliet, like a Shutter Island. It's never action Leo. He's done action a couple times, but it always throws me off when I see foot chase Leo. It's like, that's the weirdest part of this movie. I feel like I'm dreaming when I watch foot chase Leo in this movie.
That's the dreamiest part of the movie is the fact that it's foot chase Leo. You know what? I never thought of that until you just brought that up. But that is a fantastic point. He's not really much of an action guy. I guess I remember Body of Lies as kind of an action. Maybe did you ever see that one? Doing some running around in that. I don't know how many fights or anything he's getting. No punches thrown, I don't think. That's a really good point. Yeah, Leo's not much of an action guy.
Like Blood Diamond, he puts the work in, but I'm just used to him standing in a place and yelling at Kate Winslet or dancing in Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, Revenant, it's just him grunting a lot. Like it's action, but it's more of just him lying in puddles. This is foot chase Leo that we're watching here. And I gotta tell you, if I'm a henchman, I feel like I'm gonna catch Leo pretty easy. But the henchmen in these subconsciouses, they go down pretty easy, and they don't have great aim. But
well, yeah, and at one point the guy, like one of the henchmen, tries to kind of drop a bit of a line on Leo. He says something like, he grabs Leo by the arm and says like, you're not dreaming now, are you? It really wasn't a great henchman line. And then Leo, I think, headbutts him and runs away pretty quickly. So maybe if he hadn't been so concerned about his quip that he wanted to drop before catching Leo, he might have been able to catch him.
Never one-liner somebody when you're chasing them. Just catch them. Just, never stick your gun immediately to their forehead. Stand a few feet away. Like, listen, man, you move, I'm gonna shoot you. That's it. I won't let you use your Leo judo on me. Like, you just gotta wait.
I mean, really, like, how many bad guys have been defeated in movies because they wanted to get the line in before they wanted to do the evil laugh as they watched their plot unfold? And it's like, if you just done it, you would have gotten away with the crime. But no, you had to go for like the style points. You had to go for the witty line. just to show how much smarter you were than the hero, and it always comes back to bite them.
This reminds us of Mark and Phil's Henchman School, another thing that went bust on us and pushed us in a little bit of a debt before your limo business.
Well, again, I don't know why we thought that we had to do all the training on yachts. Like, I think it's the fact that we keep trying to incorporate yachts into all of our business plans.
The yacht from Tenet
really seems to be the thing that's, ruining all of these businesses.
I do not know why we're in Dubrovnik, Croatia, on this beautiful beach, but it feels right on this yacht, and that's where we're teaching hench people.
Yeah.
I love it.
100%.
No,
I mean, gas prices these days, it's costing more and more to fill up a yacht than it ever has.
it's like $15,000 a day. Yeah, we went bust pretty quick, but it was a good month.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great. Yeah, for sure.
Now, I will say, though, when Joseph Gordon-Levitt, JGL, is fighting the henchman, and he's on the Escher steps, Arthur, and he goes, paradox. I was like, that makes me laugh every time. Because is that Nolan reminding us of the stairs, and that's why he's saying paradox? Because a subconscious projection of a brain probably doesn't know what a paradox is, do they?
I mean, so whose projection is that, right? It's Cillian, it's Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, Bobby Fischer.
Yeah, Bobby Fischer. It literally, I read somewhere in the research, it literally is an homage to Bobby Fischer, the chess player. I'm sure he knows what a paradox is, but it definitely is a little bit of a callback to, that 5-minute explanation that we got about how those stairs work. And it was like, I don't know. It was a decently long explanation by JGL around how those steps worked. And so for there to be a bit of a callback and a bit of a payoff, I don't mind that so much.
I have an insane question to ask you, and I hope you're not affronted by it. But how does this movie hold up for you on rewatch? Because the first time you watch it, you're going, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Best Picture nominated, 700 million worldwide, 8.8 on IMDb, top 50 on IMDb. Critics love it, audiences love it, made a ton of money. It's an original property that makes bank around the world. But I watched this again, and the first 45 minutes of it are just people explaining everything. So it's like in the beginning, we got to kick him. What's the kick? What's this? And then they meet her. What do we do? And then he has the thing with her. Then Mal comes through. And then he explains all this stuff to her. And listen, you got to explain what it is, because when they get into the brain, you know where. Once they get into all the levels, if you just pay attention, you know where they're at. You really do. And so you know where they are, because they got the plane, and then they have the New York City streets that's raining, and then they have the hotel, and then they have the snow planet from Bond, on Her Majesty's Secret Service.
The Bond Fortress.
It's like once you follow that and you learn the kicks and the music and who's ahead and what, they even break down the time. I have 6 pages of notes. Like, you have a week, then 6 months, 10 years. What's like 3 minutes, 10 hours time. Like and then the sedation makes it 20 times longer in this one, so you can't die because then you'll be pushed into limbo. But if you just pay attention, you know what's going on. But it's kind of weird rewatching this again, because especially you can background watch it, but when you're taking notes for this, you just learn really how much the first 45 minutes, and it's all the setup, but it's basically just people dropping expository dialogue, explaining everything. How does this hold up for you on rewatches, like really focusing?
Yeah, so I agree that if I was going to just sit down and, if this movie happened to be playing on TV or something like that, and I was going to sit down and rewatch it, certainly the last 45 minutes to an hour, you can just sit down and it will suck you in right away. And if you've seen the movie before, and I've probably seen this movie a dozen times now at this point, and so it is a little bit of I don't want to say that it's a chore, because I still do think that there's a lot of great stuff happening in the first half, where you are getting the setup and the explanations around how the world works, and all the different rules and whatnot. But so overall, I think on the rewatch, I still love it and enjoy it. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's nothing like seeing this movie for the first time, and I saw it in theaters and was completely blown away. But yeah, there certainly is a lot of explaining happening in that first hour or so.
And listen, as much as I love it, and listen, I love this movie, and also like Nolan wanted to make a movie about a heist, but he's like, that's kind of flat. I need something more emotional to add here. So he gets with Leo. They work together for 3 months. They come up with, he has to get back to his family. His wife, killed herself, and now she's a projection of his subconscious that is wrecking his dreams because he can't be an architect anymore. So that's why they bring in Elliot Page. And it's just, so like he had to make this complicated. He didn't just want to make it like a heist into like a brain heist. Like he didn't want that. He wanted to add an emotional core. And then you also have a father-son story who Murphy just acts his face off in it. And just, I mean, everything that he brings. I mean, he took a semi, extended the bed to 36 feet, built a train on top of it, added 1.5 tons of steel to the front of a semi that looks like a train. So then when it hit cars, it actually looked like a train going through a subconscious. And they also messed up the grapple where it was going to make it seem like more of an anomaly. So this is a wildly thought out, practical, beautiful movie. It's just, this is the first time ever where I've just noted, because you take notes, and I just noticed that, just like, an idea, you have to eradicate it, and then the kick wakes him up, and then you have to spin a top, and then if you plat one, it breaks up an empire, but you have to go deep enough. But then I need an architect, and then it's like, dreams feel real when you're in them, but when you wake up, they're strange, and then 5 minutes or 60 minutes, time seems slow, then white blood cells, the subconscious are like white blood cells, they attack you like an infection, and then you die inside, you die for real. It's like, it's just, I don't know, dream, like, and then there's like dream security, his brain's weaponized, and I love it. But it was just weird listening. I felt bad for Joseph Gordon-Levitt until the hallway fight scene, because he's amazing in that. He did all of his own stunts. But that poor guy has to drop a lot of dialogue, and he does a good job of it. And it's smart to bring in Elliot Page because he's new to the world, and you just have to explain it to the new person. So, yeah. But I still love it. I'm not trying to hate on this movie, but this is the first time I've just noticed the sheer amount of explaining. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but I just wanted to explore that with you.
So for me, so there's a lot of explaining, but I think that is part of what I love about this movie. I don't know. Nolan gets kind of accused a little bit of being like the undergrad philosophy majors, director. But to me, this is like just the right amount of complexity for a story. There's a lot to chew on, to think about. But they explain it enough that you understand what's going on. You understand why things need to happen the way that they happen. Like, I think he maybe walks right up to the line in terms of the amount of complexity that you would want to have in a movie. But if I contrast this with like Tenet, for example, I found that movie almost too complex. There wasn't enough. I could have used the first hour of explaining to me everything that was happening in Tenet, and explain it to me like I'm 5, so that I understand a little bit more about what's going on. And so for me, it's part of what I like about this movie, that he's built this incredible world with all these interesting, nuanced rules, if you will, and laws of nature, and just cool ideas about the way that dreams work. The fact that our minds are both creating and perceiving the dream at the same time. Like, what a cool idea. That's something that I've never really thought about before. And so I like that part of it.
And here's the thing, though. I think first and foremost, Nolan wants to entertain. And so the people who call him the undergrad of philosophy majors of filmmakers, that's like I don't like that dig, and I think it's very shallow, because he's not trying to make an art house film. I mean, he made Memento, whatever, but he's not trying to make wildly art house films like Primer or Annihilation or a Garland movie. He is trying to cram ideas into a blockbuster that will appeal to the world. And so by him explaining, which is great. I mean, they said in Japan they had a number telling you what level you were in when you watched it. And I need to research that more to see if that actually is true, but I like the IMDb stat. But I love that he does it. I really do. And I think he has to. Like, look at Top Gun Maverick. The first 2/3 of that movie is explaining what the mission is and then practicing the mission. So they do the same thing out of that playbook. They explain it all. Like in Jurassic World, there's a tour before they go to it. They go through like a slideshow learning about the genetic modification. So I think a lot of the great films that we watch do take their time to explain the world. I just think this is the first time I've noticed that. And maybe that talks about how great it was the first time around, because, this movie is, if you just pay attention, you can follow this. And I think that's why it's such a success. Like, this isn't, you watch Tenet, and I was on, for some reason I fell on the wavelength with it, but a lot of people weren't. I think Inception does a great job of explaining the ride to you so that when you get on the ride, like, this is a type of ride where, like, let's say it's a roller coaster. You go on and the rules are like a mile long. And so you read all the rules and you're like, oh man, all right. But then when you get on it, you're like, oh yeah, like I know it. And I think he does an excellent job of that. And this is a Best Picture nominated movie that made 700 mil worldwide. So I don't want you thinking it was a dig. I guess when you rewatch it, you start to notice more things about it. And you're right though, the last 45 minutes with the snowmobile and the explosions and just Mal running amok and Murphy crying his face off and the slow motion off the bridge, and it's amazing. It's wonderful. And the score, geez Louise, it's killer.
Score.
It's killer. And so I don't want you to think that I'm knocking on this movie, but I think it only takes you out of it when you've watched it a lot and you have to pay attention and take 6 pages of notes to talk about it, because I never noticed that before. So I just thought that was interesting for me.
And yeah, and there are you can go so deep in terms of the references to Greek mythology and the number patterns that occur in the movie and the names of characters that that mean different things, and there's all kinds of different theories out there on the interwebs around various Easter eggs that exist in this movie. For me, it's like it is as epic a blockbuster as there is. The thing that it makes me think of in some ways is like when The Matrix came out, and it was this incredible movie that had this really distinct look to it, where you hadn't seen a look like that. And to me, Inception is sort of like that. It's 10, 11 years later, the look and feel of it, the gray suits, the sort of cool, cold, calculating ness to it. I just think I just hadn't seen anything like it before. I just love the style, and like you said, like the score. It's just to me it's so unique, and it's so different than anything that I'd ever seen before, and it's sort of Nolan in my opinion, at the peak of his powers. Yeah, I just love everything about it.
Because look, we adore Interstellar, but that goes there. Like, that went to places I think audiences weren't quite comfortable with. And then you go to Tenet, where a lot of people just felt like they didn't follow it. So I do think this is this line of Nolan where, and even Dunkirk alienated some people. So I think this is that line right there of Nolan where he was hitting on all cylinders in regards to like making a 4-quadrant film and appealing to the world. Because this movie really, and also too, like I love that there's rain during the day in LA, and I love that Wally Feister, the DP, was talking about it, and he talked about it when there's a lot of rain on like a football game, you don't see it because the bright lights are on it, so you just don't even see the rain. So in this one, they had to figure out where the sun was at all times. Then they shot the rain at those moments, hoping for some overcast skies, so you could actually see the chubby rain. And they set up 2 blocks worth of fake rain. But like once you're in that world, that really separates it from the hotel world, which then really separates it from the Snow Planet world, which then separates it from Limbo with all the brutalist architecture and just the concrete and glass. So he's created 4 very different worlds that look much different. We have the rain, the hotel, the Snow Planet Hoth, and then you have, like I just said, the brutalist structures, futuristic structures. So I like how he really delineates the 4 worlds, and I dig that about it. Like, that's what you have to do to bounce back and forth between the worlds. And he also does a really good job of, if you just listen to this movie, if you pull Antonio Banderas from the 13th Warrior, I don't know if many people will get that, and you just listen, you know what's going on. You know why the subconscious, you know that he's been weaponized, because that's what he would do. And then they have the totems, so he's spinning it for something. Like, it's just all really well explained, and I think the world was able to follow it. I mean, 8.8 on IMDb. That's nuts. That's insane. So, no wonder you wanted to talk about this movie. It was crazy. Mm-hmm. I've never dove into this film as much as I have until this one. Like, I've always just watched it, enjoyed it, but I never dug into it. And now I'm talking about Action Leo, which makes me happy. I have a question. Phil, one of your businesses takes off. You buy your way out of debt. You become a billionaire. Someone comes up to you and says, hey, we need to weaponize your subconscious to keep this business idea safe. What would your weaponized subconscious look like?
Oh, man.
So in the sequel, right, when Hayden Christensen enters your brain. No, when Cam Gigante from
yeah, oh man.
Him and Jaimin Hunsu enter your brain from Never Back Down. What are they gonna find in there? What's the first thing you see of your henchman in your brain?
Well, it's funny, you and I are really on the same wavelength in terms of taking this in an MMA direction. Because what I want in my weaponized subconscious is I want a projection of Francis Ngannou, the former UFC heavyweight champion. I want him down there guarding my safe, because that guy is terrifying. And that's what I want. I want a variety of different MMA fighters that are down there that are just going to, wrestle and fight anybody that's trying to extract all of what I imagine are just amazing business ideas that I'm keeping locked away.
Now, you would have two safes, one with your failed ideas and then one with your good ideas. So then people would have to guess in there. There'd be a 50-50 shot.
I like it.
You know what?
I like it.
Since no one can really shoot anybody, none of the projections can hit any of our heroes, I'm going to have all my henchmen having grenades. Just loaded up with grenades. Because, remember that question during there? Like, does this hurt his subconscious? He's like, no, they're just projections. So then, if they're getting killed, this doesn't affect my subconscious or my brain. Right. I'm just having projections. So I'm just having nothing but rocket launchers and grenades on my henchmen because they can't shoot anything.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's one of my favorite parts of this entire film is when they're fighting in the city level, and Tom Hardy has that great line.
Oh my gosh!
Where JGL is just trying to snipe him, and he says, you mustn't be afraid to dream a little bit bigger, and he comes out with that huge rocket launcher. What a great moment. When
he calls him darling, and the feud between those two just makes me laugh.
They're back and forth. Oh, they're back and forth the whole movie. I love the other line that I really love is when JGL says, "Forgive me for wanting a bit of specificity." And then they just have this moment where they look at each other and he repeats it, specificity. Yeah, they do. They have some really great back and forth, or where they're demonstrating the kick and he keeps waking up just before he falls out of his chair.
Oh,
so
man.
Great.
And those are probably my favorite moments in the movie, because I do think that Eames and Arthur probably wouldn't like each other, because Arthur is very by the book, buttoned up. I mean, the dude comes through. He managed to wrap up 4 people in no gravity, put them in an elevator, blow up with C4, and make people survive. Like, an extremely capable man. But Eames is kind of a, come what may dude. And I love that they just go at each other. It makes me so happy. I just like Tom Hardy in this movie. And also, this is really random, but I was convinced that he wore a cardigan in this movie, and he never does.
That was your memory? Was that he rocked a great cardigan?
But he wears a cardigan in Lawless. So maybe that Lawless movie incepted, put an idea in my head, and then it grows like a virus. Because when he comes up with that gun and he says, darling, I would have put money on him wearing a cardigan. And I would have lost money because he's wearing a suit. But I'm telling you, Phil, I thought he wore a cardigan. This movie, Nolan's just messing with me. He's just, and then, I mean, what do you think about Cobb in this movie as a lead? I mean, Cobb is flawed. Cobb?
I think it's Cobb.
Yeah, it's not cod. It's not a fish. It's like corn. But Cobb, he's flawed. He can't get rid of his wife. He put an idea in her head. He's not with his kids. Like, this is a guy who I think will lie to people to bring them into a lower level of sedated dreaming so that he could be stuck in a limbo so he could potentially get back to his kids and not tell anybody.
That's a pretty lousy move for sure.
Yeah, but Cobb doesn't care. He's just, we're here now. So it's pretty shifty, but I like that. I like that he's not the squeaky clean, like, some of these people are like, I'm the most noble man in the world, and I just want to get back to my family. No, like, this dude, he puts people in the dream state, but then he goes after him, though. So he redeems himself, like, hey, I got to go after Ken Watanabe. Sato, I got to go after him because he'll be lost. So he does care enough to go save people once they've been murdered
Well, he saves him, but without Sato, he's not going to be able to get back. He needs Sato to make that phone call after they all wake up on the plane, right? So I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I mean, he definitely is a flawed character.
Wow.
He's also responsible for his wife's death in a lot of ways, right? Like he does Inception on her, which ultimately, I don't think his intentions with that were bad. He wanted to ensure that they didn't get stuck in the dream world forever. And I guess he'd realized that she had sort of lost touch with reality. But yeah, he's definitely not a perfect guy. No doubt about it. I love some of his interaction that he has with Michael Caine. Michael Caine is awesome in the 3 minutes that he is in the movie. Just the idea that Michael Caine's like, oh, you're here to corrupt one of my bright young pupils, or the idea that he's asking Elliot Page's character, and he says, that I need to know that you can do this job because it's not, strictly speaking, legal. Like, he's definitely a bit of a shifty guy.
Yeah, he tells Ariadne, yeah, this is illegal, but he also knows that as a kind of a scholar and a bright student, that Ariadne will come back. Like, once you've seen that, it's almost like taking the blue or red pill. Your eyes have been opened, and you can come in here and make unlimited things. You can make cities fold on themselves. You could build a jet ski resort that's just unbelievable. But you can't recreate real memories because then you'll want to get lost, which is kind of wild. They actually show that later on with all the people in the beds laying there with the chemists and how they go there every day to dream.
Well, that again is like going back to what I was saying earlier about, in some ways, again, visually and the style, the fact that it's just such a stylish movie reminded me of The Matrix. But there's also some parallels there with The Matrix as well. These people are going into this world knowing that it's not the real world in some cases, but maybe for them it's the dream world is better than being in the real world. You think about that scene with Cypher in The Matrix when he's eating the steak and he's like, I know that this isn't real, but it still tastes delicious. Same sort of idea, that it's that unlimited potential for creativity. I could see that it would be hard. It would be hard to not want to be in that world all the time.
And do you know what's tough too about him is when we think about dreams, like you're running from something, you're showing up to class naked, you're reliving some terrible things, you're having nightmares. But it's really interesting how Nolan still keeps it grounded. This is random, but when you think about X-Men in 2000 or Blade in 98, vampires were hot in the 90s, so you make Blade, you make an R-rated movie, you make it more of an action film, it's accessible to the mainstream. When you make X-Men, you don't put them in all their crazy suits, you put them in leather suits, and you just make it more grounded to appeal to people before you bust out the color outfits and the comic book culture. So I think with Nolan, when he made Inception, he didn't want to make it a super fantasy world. He didn't want to make it what dreams may come. He didn't want to go full The Cell. He didn't want to fully explore this bonkers subconscious where Doctor Strange levels of weird can happen. He keeps it very grounded in this, but it's still a dream. But it makes sense when you're in there because it's other people controlling it. You have Cobb. You have the other crew controlling the dream, making it more, believable. So I think that's also another thing that made this movie more accessible to people. Whereas, listen, this is dealing with subconscious. This is dealing with talking about white blood cells, your subconscious, like Inception, planting ideas. Say there's not an elephant in the room. Like, don't even think about it. And then it goes to this place where there's dream security. Like, there's all sorts of there's kicks, but everyone's along for the ride because he grounds it. So you're not losing you're not losing the people who don't like sci-fi, like the dorky stuff. But then you're also getting people who just want an action film. But then you're getting people who want to analyze this movie for years. This is definitely a 4-quadrant film because you can watch this as an action film. That's it. You don't even have to pay attention to it. You can just see Tom Hardy blowing stuff up, and you can just see awesome action scenes. And then you can pay attention to it and go, oh, so when we're dreaming, when people are talking to us, it seems like they're just talking to us, but they're just manifesting what's in our brain, so we're controlling this. And then there's all these crazy ideas about paradoxes and Escher, and there's totems, and so you can appreciate it on that level. And I think it's just the production design, the cinematography, the special effects, the editing, it all blends together to really make a 4-quadrant product that, once again, we're saying is Nolan hitting on all cylinders, for sure.
And there's some amazing action performances. And so, to get back to Leo and Cobb, as sort of the main character. So I do think that this is a really good Leo performance, and I think that Cobb is an interesting, flawed character that has to navigate some really difficult circumstances and difficult choices. I like Leo's performance in this, but I'd be interested in your opinion before I get mine. Like, who do you think in terms of the acting performances? You mentioned Cillian Murphy already earlier as well, but like, who's your favorite character in this movie, or who do you think gives the best performance of all of the actors? Because there's some good choices here.
I mean, we love Tom Hardy, but he's just hanging out being awesome. I think Levitt's asked to be the straight person. Elliot Page is the new person thrust into the world who challenges Cobb. I think the reason works so well for I think probably two characters. I mean, listen, Marion Cotillard is amazing. She works as well, but she's more of just a manifestation of, she has no real depth, I guess. But I do love Murphy as Robert Fisher, Bobby Fisher. The scene when he opens up the safe at the end with his dad, Pete Postlewaite, and he just starts crying. I remember sitting in the theater. I think I started crying. And Megan walked in when I was doing research on this, and she saw Murphy, and she's like, he's so good. Like, Nolan loves him anyway, Oppenheimer and all the Batman movies.
Yeah.
So I think he's a side character, but you really love his journey with his dad. And I think their connection, and when he sees that at the end, is what Nolan wants when he talks about having a movie that's emotional and not just a theft movie, like a as much as I love Ocean's 11 or Italian Job, there's not too much pathos or ethos, like there, one of those words, emotion. And then you also have Leo. I mean, he takes this so seriously. You can't have a winking performance in this role. You gotta have a guy who's like, in your dream, you do this, and then you do that, but it's like a dream, and then you need a totem, but then like it eradicates everything, and like you need to do this, and then there's a kick, and then you're this, but I need to get back to my family. This guy, Leo, drops a lot of dialogue. He's like, well, I'm in here, but then I created these levels to keep her in here, but she's part of my projection. And when he screams, when Mal jumps off the roof, when he screams, like, no, just, he really does invest in this movie. Like, you can tell that he's all in. This is an actor who's committed. Like, you don't do The Revenant if you're not committed. And so I think one of the reasons, the big reason for this film's success was Leo, because of how seriously he took it. He talked every day with Nolan for 2 months. On set, they said he was so exact that they could do stunts around him, but he would hit his mark every time, so they didn't have to worry about the stunts because they weren't worried about him getting off track. They knew that when they pulled the stunts, they could do it exactly on time because he would be on his mark. And so I think he took his professionalism into this movie and played it as serious as possible. And I think that's another reason why it made $700 million. This guy commits.
Well, and
fully.
he also, like, I think Nolan credited him with making some pretty substantive changes to the script as well, where maybe the film was a little bit more confusing and there was more explanation that needed to happen. And Leo, I think, was the one that has been really credited with trying to push some of the human story and some of the emotional aspect to this. And maybe that's the part of the story or the part of this character that really resonated with him. So don't get me wrong. I feel like in some ways it's a great Leo performance and I don't want to take it for granted, but I just love some of these supporting characters. Like, yeah, Tom Hardy is awesome, but I feel like this might have been the first time I ever saw Tom Hardy in a movie, in all honesty. Like, I just wasn't up on him or his career. And I can remember afterwards going, who is that guy? Like, every scene he's in, he's like stealing the scene in a lot of ways. And I just love the back and forth between him and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And so I would say for me, it's either of those two guys that I think just add so much to the movie. And it's interesting to read some of the other casting choices that were considered for both of those characters.
It wouldn't have worked.
I'm so glad that they landed on those two guys, because they, between the two of them, had great chemistry and great chemistry in their scenes with Leo as well. And I think that they really added a lot.
Like, as much as I love Robert Downey Jr., you couldn't have him as Cobb. You couldn't have someone who winks at the camera. You couldn't have someone who's like, when Leo really commits. I think people forget how much Leo commits because he doesn't do too many movies. But you watch Revolutionary Road, you watch him lying in puddles, you watch Wolf of Wall Street. Like, that dude goes for it. He is 100% there. And, you know, it's fun watching Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And also, too, I mean, the entire cast, if you look at JGL, Tom Hardy, JGL did 90% of those hallway stunts.
Yeah.
One of the really interesting things about this was they had to learn how to go. The toughest part was the bedroom, because if the bedroom went, you would fall like 30 feet to the ground. So the rotation was faster for the like one part and then slower for the other, so they could get across the whole floor, and the way they did that. But JGL was there for that. And there's another scene where that was vertical, but when they horizontal, but when they put the set vertical, where he had to hang like 0G, he said he talked to people who in 0G, they just say they feel comfortable. They're totally relaxed, but he had to strain every muscle in his body to appear to be totally relaxed. And so the physicality of this role is wonderful. And you see his face in almost all of it too, which once again adds to the how great it is. And listen, I don't want to sound like an old fogey, and I hate when people do this, but Nolan, Leo, JGL, they all said that this is a movie where you see it. There's a lot of VFX that you don't see, but they built the train that steams through it. They built sets that actually turn 25 degrees in the hotel room when the thing goes, when Leo introduces himself to Murphy. So they really put them on sets that tilted. They put them on snowmobiles. They blew up sets.
Well, I mean, the hallway fight scene, they literally built and suspended in the air a gigantic cylindrical hallway that they then actually rotated around in the air and filmed that whole time. And so, to your point, like, the actors had to learn the timing of when they had to hop, now I'm on the wall. Okay, now I'm on the ceiling, and like had to basically continue to hit those marks and learn the whole choreography, because as you said, one misstep and you could end up falling down a corridor and falling 30 feet. So, to me, like, that's one, like, again, we talk about Nolan, and, he continues to take this to the extreme where he's, crashing 747s through an airport later on. But just the idea that, a lot of this stuff that looks like it's CGI'd isn't actually CGI. It's just incredible.
Yeah, and he knows how to blend both of them. I mean, like Mad Max Fury Road, they had a lot of practical stunts and they had a lot of VFX. It's just knowing when to let audio, like Top Gun Maverick, right? You're there, you're in it. And I just think that they knew how to make it work. I mean, they made LA during the day rain. I love the truck that they built. And, I showed it to my students, the making of the hallway fight, and it's almost comical how much work went into it. It's really is. You see it and it's so wasteful, but it's such a memorable scene.
So worth it.
Yeah.
So worth it.
And Nolan said too, he's like, listen, this is what takes an action film to the next level. If you want to make an action film, fine. But if you want to make this, you got to take it to the next level. Because if you make an action movie inside dreams and it's just bland, that's not going to work. You need the spinning, you need the twisting, you need the turning, and it just works, and it really does. But one thing I noticed is like Nolan has 6 films in the IMDb top 250, which is pretty nuts. What do you think it is about? This is a huge loaded question that I probably should have sent to you weeks ago, but how do you think he's been able to combine? Like, what does he do that is able to make his movies so popular? Now, like, I know he likes to kill wives off a lot. Like a Memento, you have a dead wife. You have Inception, you have a dead wife. Dark Knight Rises, Rachel gets blown up. Interstellar, he's a widow. I think I'm missing one too. The Prestige, Rebecca Hall hangs herself. I don't know why he does that. That's a weird thing. And I have to thank Screen Junkies for that, because I picked that up from them during their honest trailer. But I mean, he loves time. He loves going big. He loves science fiction. He loves nonlinear storytelling. But like, what is about his movies that make them so accessible, but then also make them quite, twisty, turny, timey, wimey?
I totally get it. I think one of the things, and I feel like you guys talked about this when you did the episode on Tenet, is I love movies where you see capable people be capable.
Yeah.
Smart people planning, executing, just being capable. Like we've talked about that with a bunch of the movies that we've covered over the last little while. People maximizing their potential. So I think that that's a common theme throughout a lot of his movies. I don't know. Maybe, we love this and we love Interstellar. Is there something about, dads being separated from their kids and, trying to save the world and get back to their kids that really resonates. I think that's part of it. I also think that it's these heartfelt human stories with great cast too. He gets amazing actors that work for him, but
Yeah.
it's these heartfelt human stories combined with just incredible visuals. Like, we haven't even necessarily shouted every single one of them out, but like the exploding scene in the market where Cobb is teaching Ariadne and early on about how the shared dreaming works and how they simultaneously create and perceive at the same time, and then the dream. But any time one of the dreams starts to collapse, when the water comes in on either side of the of Sato's hideout at the beginning there.
Yeah, it's so good, and
the
they built the
visuals,
set. Yeah.
The visuals are just unbelievable, and then you've got these amazing human stories happening within these incredible visual worlds.
It's interesting. He wants to make a movie ready-made for the biggest audience as possible. But if you think about early on Memento, where Guy Pearce, he's essentially a killer, and he forgets on purpose to find a purpose in life. But you also, well, I mean, you learn he's just a straight up killer, but he also has a legitimate issue going on. So you're kind of very complicated characters, sort of three-dimensional characters too. I mean, like Tenet, I love Tenet, but you don't really know much about the characters. Well, Elizabeth Debicki's really good, and she has her kid, so you have that strong mother-kid son bond, and then don't even get me started on Interstellar, Murph, geez Louise, and just, even Bruce Wayne's an orphan, and he's always worried about he has parents, and he has those issues, and then Michael Caine, and also too, like, if you look at Inception, the cast, you have Leonardo DiCaprio, Oscar winner, or future, won an Oscar, Tom Hardy nominated. Marion Cotillard won an Oscar for La Vie en Rose, which she played the character who sings the song in this movie.
Yes.
Which, a Michael Caine Oscar winner.
Which was a pure coincidence, apparently, that connection between the song and La Vie en Rose.
So, I mean, he's bringing in this caliber of talent to be in a movie about a subconscious theft. No, they're planting an idea, and it's someone's subconscious, but they have to go really deep. So it's, in the wrong hands, this could be quite the... But also, too, you could almost make this a high concept. Like, this is easy to explain. So it's a group of people go into a man's subconscious to implant an idea. Things go bad. So you could do that in an elevator pitch. For, like, Prestige, two magicians, bad things happen. Memento, a guy with amnesia tries to find the killer of his wife. So on the surface, they're very sort of, high concept, easy to explain ideas. I mean, it's not Snakes on a Plane, but a lot of his movies, Dunkirk, the Battle of Dunkirk. So I think Tenet, I could do time. It's two different forces from the future attempt to stop each other, which it's pretty easy to explain, but then the movie happens. And then Batman is just dark. Batman fights people. So yeah, he starts with a kind of a interesting, simple idea, but then he expands upon it so much. Now, I don't want people thinking that, once again, I'm a college theory film class guy, but you do have to appreciate the way he walks the line between blockbuster and kind of think piece. So I'm not calling this like a $7,000 science fiction film that is nothing but ideas, but it's interesting how he's able to blend that, and I think a lot of audiences have appreciated that.
Yeah, and he takes what are, again, maybe not necessarily simple stories, but he takes these stories that are maybe not super complex, but he tells them in unique, creative, maybe a little bit more complex ways. And for me, as an audience member, that's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun watching Memento and trying to figure out for the first 20 minutes, what in the world is even going on? Why am I seeing the same things happening over and over again? And then after a little while, you settle into a rhythm with that movie where you start to understand the sequence and how, okay, the story is being told backwards, but the black and white portion of the story is moving forwards, and the two pieces of the story are going to meet at a certain point. And I think it's largely the same thing with Inception, where you're in a dream within a dream, and people keep waking up, and you're not 100% sure what's real, what's not, what's a dream, what's happening in reality. But after a little while, after the explanation and around how everything works, and they full out explain at one point in the movie when they're in the hotel level and they trick Fisher into joining them by making him think that it's Browning trying to steal trying to break into his subconscious to do whatever he's trying to do. Ariadne says, "Wait a second, whose mind are we going into? Like, what are we doing here again?
Yeah.
Let's take a pause here." And so you do, whether it's because they're explaining it to you or whether it's just because, again, you kind of have settled into that rhythm where you start to understand how this world works. You understand what they're doing a little bit more. And for me, that process is fun. I like the first 20 minutes going, what in the world is going on? How does this work? I want to think about this. I want to try and learn how this world works. And as they explain it and as you sort of see it unfold, it's fun. It's a fun discovery process for me with Nolan's movies to try to piece it all together and understand how it works. And then you see something like the ending of this movie and you walk out with more questions and more things to, talk about afterwards. For me, that's one of the really fun parts about Nolan movies, I guess.
And you know what's interesting about Inception is at the end when the top is still real quick, I just want to say I love the building a team aspect of this, but also I like that I think some movies spend way too long building the team. This movie, you have the initial plot, but then they go to France, they grab Ariadne, and then they go and then they get Eames, and then they grab Yusuf. But that's 20-30 minutes of the movie. And so they build the team quite quick. I like that aspect of it. It doesn't, sometimes, I love Expendables 3. I like Eternals, but the building of the team aspect takes forever in those movies and kind of grinds it to a halt a little bit. So I like how quickly they put the team together. And then I like how, they meet and Eames already knows about Inception. He's like, yeah, we tried it. It was bloody hard. He's like, we're going to be in trouble. And then just watching that scene, and then also too, Ariadne is us in the world. She's like, wait, is she killing the subconscious? No, those are just projections. And so it's you take Elliot Page's character, and when Ariadne asks the questions, that's kind of what we're asking. So it's a little self-conscious, but I also think it's important that we're not leaving with bad questions like, hey, all those people were killed in that dude's mind. Is that going to affect him? But no, because they're just projections. So it's a really interesting way to do it. I think it can be a little clunky, but you need it to prevent more questions that people just linger on and not like.
It does, and it's unfortunate because I think that people that don't enjoy this movie, that's the exact reason why they don't enjoy it. They're like, well, hang on a second, the van is, rolling down the hill. Why don't they wake up? Why isn't that a kick? Or, they can't be killed in the dreams, but then they can be killed in limbo, and that helps them wake up. And look, he doesn't answer every single question. He doesn't make a 6-hour long movie explaining how all of the rules of this world works. I think that I think the right balance is struck here. I think there's enough explanation around how this works. Ariadne asks enough questions on behalf of the audience so that we know what's going on. We understand. It's just fun. Like, to me, it doesn't have to be perfect. Yes, he's building a world, but like suspend your disbelief a little bit too, and recognize that it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to totally make sense. Mm-hmm. It's science fiction here. We're in a futuristic world where we're sharing dreams. To me, it's just a fun, creative story, and I don't know. I love the mystery to it. I love the puzzle to it, and the way that it all unfolds. I think it's just a ton of fun.
Now, I do think that, people have these questions, and I get it, but he also answers all of them in the movie. And it's a movie about dreams, so if you're going to nitpick those, he does explain it. And this is not our world. These are the laws of this world. So the van flips, they don't wake up, it's fine. It doesn't matter, because that's not what wakes them up. We saw what kick wakes them up, the water. And just when they set that up, you can follow it. And I guess the one thing though that allows people to nitpick Nolan films is that this isn't a dumb sci-fi movie that is just bombastic and broad and more bombastic. This is a very grounded dream movie that spends a lot of time talking about the subconscious. And so when something doesn't quite click, when something feels a little bit off with the rolling van or other elements, I think that leaves it a little bit more open to nitpicking because he's done such a job of grounding the world. But then there's some pretty big plot holes. Not plot holes. There's some pretty big...
there's questions.
Yeah, questions.
You can come out of this movie and with questions about how this world works. Not every single aspect of it is explained to you.
Yeah.
For sure.
And like, why don't they wake up? It's like, you know what? That's a fair point because his world is so grounded and they spend so much time explaining it. But also, it's a movie about silly dreaming.
The wake up thing is interesting. I do want to address that quickly actually and talk about that because what I wondered is, so they don't wake up when the van rolls down the hill because so that's in Dream World level 1, let's call it, the city, the rainy city. So they don't wake up in that world. But when they do the kick, so they I guess the snow fortress collapses, they wake up there, they're in the hotel, the elevator explosion happens, they wake up there, then they're in the van, they wake up in the water. And so I just wonder, is it that you have to wake up maybe in that order? If you're still in a dream down in level 3, you're in the snow fortress world, maybe you can't wake up in level 1 in the rainy city. Like maybe you have to come up through each of the levels of the subconscious. Oh, yeah. That was I didn't read about that anywhere. I just sort of was thinking about that and wondered if that maybe is how it works.
And listen, they are sedated. And so that's another reason why they're not waking up, because they are sedated, which they explain. And they're, yeah, but I think you're right. Once you go, but then Yusuf doesn't wake up when he's flipping the van.
Well, no, he's driving the van.
Yeah, he's driving the van. Oh, but he's still awake then. Okay. But maybe they're just sedated and they're all on another level of the dream. So yeah, they just have to come out of that. But you know what's interesting? I never had that question while watching it. This is my thing with Nolan films. I feel like I get on the same wavelength of all of his movies. I really do. When you watch Inception, he spends so much time explaining the world that if you just pay attention, you're there. You're fine. Like even Tenet, it's two people from the future battling and there's some inversion. Like it's not, if you just watch it, you go, oh, okay, I get it. Prestige at the end. Oh, that's interesting. Like one thing about Nolan, he does put things on a platter for you. There's some fun questions to ask, but he also makes sure that you can leave the theater going, so I have a couple of questions about that, but I get it. It's a dream heist, and he pulled it off. They had to go really deep down to projections. I get it. Like, though I don't know. For me, I never worried about the top spinning because he was just happy. Like Cobb was happy.
That's exactly it. But I was going to bring that up because that is the one sort of maybe unanswered question that's done on purpose in this case, and I wanted to get your take on that, how you interpret the ending. Nolan himself, I think, said that it's sort of open for interpretation. He maybe has his own take on how he would interpret it. How do you interpret the spinning top at the end?
I mean, Michael Caine said that every scene he's in is real.
Yes.
And if you think about that,
because he didn't know, Michael Caine was like, "What is going on in this script? How am I supposed to know whether I'm in the dream world or in reality?" And I guess they said to him, "Every time you're in the scene, it's reality."
Yeah, and listen, for me, at the end, he's found catharsis, and so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's earned. I think the ending is earned. And so for me, I'd like to think that he got back to his family. I really do. Why not? Like, I think he does enough, he explains enough to you. And also an early interview with him, he said that, yeah, it's like his family. I want him back. He's like, at the time I had just become a dad, so I wanted him back with his family. So it's very much left for interpretation. But that's not something that I am worried about because he just seems happy. He seems at peace.
I interpret it as him getting back to his kids as well. I mean, and throughout the movie, he can't see his kids' faces because the last memory that he has of them is seeing, them as they're walking away, and then he sees them in the end. So there's I think a lot a lot of good reasons to think that it's reality. It's kind of interesting with Nolan, again, like we talked about the idea of like fathers being separated from their kids, and one of the analogies in this movie as well is that this is a film set, and Cobb is the director, and various the projections are all the extras running around, and various people will play different roles that are related to a film set here.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be interesting.
What's up?
Yeah. Eames is one of the actors, right? And I can't remember exactly what everybody's role was, but I would be interesting to ask Nolan whether this is, I don't know, something in his own life, whether he struggles with this idea of like being away from his kids or his family while he's working and that sort of thing, because it's a common theme that comes up throughout his movies, and it's super interesting that in this case specifically, they talk about how this parallels with making a film.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, because you're going deep into your subconscious to write. You're going deep into the process. You kind of disappear for a while, and like the further you get into it, the different time becomes. When you're on a set, it could be 12, 14 hours. So I very much so see it like that, and just like, how does the time work on set? Where am I going? I miss my family. That's why his wife produces with him. That's why I think his daughter or son was in the movie. But yeah, as a film set, I love it because he said Cobb is the director, Arthur's the producer, Ariadne is the production designer, Eames is the actor, Saito is the studio, and Fisher is the audience. And it kind of makes sense. You got the producers, the directors making it happen. You have the actors who kind of come in and out, do their job. I mean, if you think about, Dream of a Little Bit Bigger, Darling. I mean, Eames is definitely the most sort of kind of flamboyant of the group. So he kind of comes in and performs as the different people. You have the production designer who designs, but he said he did that subconsciously though. Because if you look at this movie, there's been, in heist movies, there's always been the group who has different things they're great at. So you have Ocean's 11, you have the acrobat, you have the impressionist, you have the wet work.
Yeah.
The wet work, you have the muscle. So any heist movie could be used to explain a film set and how it works. But I think when he thought about that, he said it, and he was like, yeah, that makes sense. Because, I mean, listen, I will say, though, that Arthur's very much so the producer. So Cobb's the ethereal, he has Mal in his head, and he sees it, and Arthur's the producer. Arthur is straight-laced, beyond the max.
Let's get this under control.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have the production designer, you have the studio. Saito is the one who has the money, and he's funding all of this. And so, but there's always a person who funds these things. There's always the person who puts the mask on. There's always the every Mission Impossible is that. So I get it, but it seems like a stretch. If that I don't know. I think that's a team-based thing, because a film set is a team, and then a thief crew is a team. So that's just kind of my thought on that. But I like the idea of it. It's fun. This I just want to say, this IMDb trivia page is insane. And most of the time, I'm not really huge in IMDb. I listened to all the documentaries about this. I watched the movie. I found as many interviews as I could. But I love going through every IMDb page, because like Back to the Future, Inception, his bigger, like Dark Knight, it feels like it's 7,000 words for this. I mean, there's so much stuff in this. It just makes your eyes, I don't know, it makes your eyes tired reading it all. But yeah, I mean, I dig that. But you know what though? I have a question about Nolan fans. Now, Phil, I don't think you're a diehard Nolan fan. We've talked 3 together. I think we just embrace his cinema. But I do think Nolan fans I don't know, they're a rare breed. I think they get very hyped up over his work and very defensive over his work. I don't know what I'm trying to get at here. They just seem very aggressive, Nolan fans. But I also think that the same Nolan fans turned their back on him with Tenet and Interstellar, which are 2 beautiful movies that I adore. So I don't know. What do you think about the general Nolan fandom in the cinematic world?
I agree that there's a sense that there are diehard Nolan fans that think that he can do no wrong. And don't get me wrong, I am yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm a diehard fan. I am a huge fan. I think he's probably my favorite filmmaker. I love so many of his films. I think that they are super rewatchable. I love what he did with the Batman franchise. So I just think that he's great. But like we were talking about earlier, part of what makes him good you can take that too far. I think that the playing with time, the having complex stories, having the expository dialogue where characters have to explain everything, you can run into some trouble with that. And I think that some of his recent films are good examples of that happening. I'm excited for Oppenheimer though. It's going to be interesting to see.
Am I a hipster fan, Phil? Because I followed Tenet like easily. I adore Tenet. I feel like it's the easiest thing. Someone said you gotta be dumb smart to understand it, but I don't think so at all. I think it's just two people in the future going back to prevent an apocalypse. They want to destroy the world to not make it as bad, and then some people want to stop that. So I don't know. But also I just want to say something. I think some people are like, you don't understand Nolan's work. It's so deep. But I don't think his work is so deep. I think he's just found a great way to tell interesting stories to the mainstream because he explains everything to you. I don't think there's many concepts that, I watched a movie called After Sun that just shook me to my core. I watched a movie called Decision to Leave by Park Chan-wook that just blew me away, that I consider ultimate art. I don't think Nolan's setting out to make ultimate art. I think he's just setting out to make smart movies that the largest audiences possible can watch, and he's wildly successful at that. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree, and I think that I like what he's trying to do. Like I think I agree with what you said. He sets out to make smart movies. He wants the audience. He wants these discussions to be happening. He wants the audience to be asking questions and to be reading and looking things up afterwards and trying to understand all of the references and Easter eggs and things that occur in the films. And again, I think to a certain degree, that's part of what makes his movies so much fun to watch and to engage with and to talk about. It's part of the reason why we've done 3 of his movies together. And so I think he's a great filmmaker, not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I think that the hardcore fans need to chill out a little bit and recognize that, yeah, he's not going to hit a home run every single time, but overall, yeah, I think he's one of the best. He's maybe the best filmmaker for the last 20 years for sure, and he's awesome.
I hate like some people are getting on him now for using film, and some guy goes, "Are you just trying to be cute? Can you even notice?" Some guy asked Nolan that, and it's just. Let Nolan entertain people. Like, people were complaining about Tenet. People complained about Interstellar. Here's a dude that's making epic movies for worldwide audiences, and people are just kind of dogpiling on him. I don't like, just let the dude make movies. Like, that's, I don't know.
And do people complain? I mean, I don't know. You would probably know this better than me. Like, do people complain about Spielberg like this, or do people complain about I don't know, like Michael Mann, in this way, or like any other?
That's a really great question.
Maybe Fincher, but maybe Fincher's not. He's not as much of a blockbuster kind of guy. I'm just trying to think about like directors that people sort of that it seemed to be sort of polarizing in some ways, where they have a contingent of fans that love them and think that they can do no wrong, and others that really just their films don't connect with people for whatever reason.
I think Spielberg's managed to avoid it for so long because he's a bit of a chameleon. He can pop out Saving Private Ryan, but then he'll do Bridge of Spies, then he'll do Fabelmans. He can move around to different genres. And he's an auteur, but he doesn't have a specific style. But if you look at maybe Terrence Malick, who I adore, I love Tree of Life. I love The Thin Red Line. Badlands. Like, I love his movies. But he's very much an auteur, and you know exactly what you're going to get when you watch his movies. And a lot of
he's not a blockbuster.
No, but I guess
for the masses.
I guess what I'm saying is, like, when he started making Into the Wonder, the door got kicked in a little bit, and people started criticizing him because his films are very much so Malikian. Does that make? And then you watch Wes Anderson. His films are becoming more pastel, more Wes Anderson-y, more auteurish, and so people are getting on him. It's like the same thing every time. It's like he's becoming too Wes Anderson. But when you look at maybe a Fincher, he can bounce between some genres. But then you have Nolan, who he relies on time. He relies on big concepts. He relies on sort of big budget filmmaking that's really grounded in reality. But he's very auteurish. So I do think people are are starting to get on him a little bit because he has his signature style. I just think when you have like Ron Howard, no one hates on Ron Howard because he bounces around. But like when you have a very singular auteurish style and people get a little sick of that auteurish style and you keep doing it, then I think that's when the door gets kicked in. I guess that was a very long answer, but I think you can have this unbelievable hit of films that are time related, and then you kind of make a little bit films that are a little harder to grasp, maybe have some funky sound mixing, and then I think that's when everyone goes, oh wait, this guy's all about time. This guy's all about this. He's all about this. That's when I think it is. So I think non-auteurs have run more of a risk of audiences sort of going after them as opposed to just directors who, Spielberg is an auteur, but he can blend in.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. It's like some of the things that are unique to him or particular about Nolan's style and some of the themes in the movies. Maybe there's a sense where it's like, okay, we've seen this, like oh, another one about time, another one that's complicated or whatever. And I guess in maybe trying to make them unique, and maybe this is the answer that we're kind of hitting on around what's changed between something like Inception, for me anyway, like what really makes Inception land versus Tenet maybe being a little bit more confusing. It's like maybe he's trying to add some variety on some of these themes or tell some of these stories using some of these same elements but in different ways. Maybe just missed the mark a little bit in some cases. Inception, I think, is an absolute home run, but maybe trying to take some of these themes and use them in different, unique and creative ways, it means that it just didn't land quite as well.
And like Interstellar didn't end the way many people wanted because it goes out there. Yeah. And so I think, but they're all time, they're all family, they're all this. So yeah, I just think people sort of when people can key in on a certain aspect of something, then I think they can really kick the door open, like Leo does in this movie, door kick Leo. I know it's a long answer, but I think that's why certain directors can avoid, like Michael Mann, right? He did become very Michael Manny with Black Hat and Miami Vice, but like he went to full digital, but I also think he can jump around enough to not get fully hated on, because he can go do Last of the Mohicans, then he can do Manhunter, then he can do Heat, then he can do Insider. It's like he's got a bench. And I'm not saying no one doesn't, but look at M. Night Shyamalan with his twists. I adore M. Night Shyamalan, but people started destroying him for his twists. What people loved so much in the beginning, they started hating. So I think auteurs run the gamut of that. Hey, real quick,
makes total sense.
Before we get out of here, let's do a quick heist movie draft. So I'll let you have first pick, and you can pick this if you want. And it's just movies that are based around a big heist.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm going to let's take a quick look here. Okay, I'm going to start with, I think we talked about this offline, and we were like texting back and forth quite a bit after I watched this, and I really, really enjoyed this with Jason Statham. I'm going to go with Wrath of Man.
Oh, yeah. That's a good picture.
Really great. Some really great. Was it turtleneck happening in that movie?
Oh, wonderful.
Or was it cable sweater?
Huge turtleneck work in that movie. And we talked about that, yeah. And I just watched his latest one, Operation Fortune. I got a screener for that. And it's really fun. Guy Ritchie and Jason Statham back together. It's a fun movie. Oh, that's a great pick. So since you didn't go gigantic, I won't go gigantic. So you took I'm going to take Hell or High Water, a movie I love. That's a great heist film. A lot of good heists in that.
Okay, nice. That's a good pick. I am, for my second pick, going to take The Town, which is a movie that is on our master list of movies to talk about for the podcast. We got to do The Town at some point. Another one that I saw in theaters that I now also own on Blu-ray and love very dearly and rewatch all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Love Town.
We might have to do that next. I'm going to take Logan Lucky because I think that's just a Steven Soderbergh joint that I adore. Megan and I are covering it on the podcast eventually. If you haven't watched Logan Lucky, it's wonderful. So I'm going to do Logan Lucky as my second pick.
Again, another one that I'd be happy to talk about at some point. But there's some good heist movies, some good rewatchable heist movies. Give me Baby Driver.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we got to do Baby Driver.
Gotta do Baby Driver.
There's like 3 commentaries. We got to do Baby Driver. What are we doing? Baby Driver? We want to just do Baby Driver in the town next? Or
We're gonna have to try and like find some music that we can like, synchronize the entire pod to the whole time as well, though. That might make it tough.
We need
but
glasses.
We'll find a way. We'll make it happen.
I'll send you some Octane coffee because that's the coffee in this. You know what? I should just do that. So then you can drink Octane. We can have Octane while doing that. I found a really good one. Where was it? I'm going to do Fast 5.
Oh, there you go.
The Bank Vault. Come on now. All right, so what's your 4th pick?
My 4th pick is going to be, I'll go with Drive. The Ryan Gosling, Nicholas. Yeah, I can't remember that guy's name.
Nicholas Winding Refn.
That was a cool movie.
Oh, man, that's a beast movie. I love it. They got sued for the trailer because they said that it was misleading and people got scarred from that movie, and it makes me really happy.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna go kind of crazy here, but I'm gonna take Bottle Rocket, the Wes Anderson movie, because I love Bottle Rocket a lot. It makes me happy.
I don't think I've ever seen that. I'll have to check it out.
Early Wes Anderson, when he was in very much so like blue collar, dealing with like depression and sort of loneliness, is my favorite. But before he became, I love Grand Budapest Hotel. It's a wonderful example of production design and performances, but it's just very Wes Anderson. I miss his older 90s stuff. All right, so you have Wrath of Man, The Town, Baby Driver, and Drive. What are you taking last?
Okay, so for my last one, and this is high on I need to rewatch this movie soon because it has been years and years since I last watched this, but give me Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, man. Oh, I'm toast. I love it. Reservoir Dogs. And you know what? I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to take Set It Off, the 1990s bank robbery movie. I like that. Let's go different. I love it. We didn't take Heat. We left some huge ones out. That makes me so happy. I feel like you understand the MFF way, and I appreciate that.
Try to not just make the obvious picks.
Oh man, they have Dead Presidents too. Oh, and The Lookout, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. You know Army of the Dead, that zombie movie made by Zack Snyder. I don't think it's good, but I want to talk about it. I'm not saying you have to do it with me, but I want to find an episode sometime just to like get my feelings out about Army of the Dead. It's a zombie movie. With
Dave Bautista.
Yeah, but it spends way too much time between him and his daughter, and it grinds everything to a halt, and it just goes too much. Oh, you know what I just saw? Entrapment. Oh, man, that movie. Sean Connery. Well, hey, Phil, this was wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll put this poll up on MFF. And, I don't know what we're doing next, but we got a fun one coming, so thank you for joining me.
Oh, man, it's my pleasure every time. I will, anytime you ask, I'll come back. So
you got a spot. People love your reps, man. Prestige is blowing up. Fight Club's the most popular episode of the last year. It's now number 1. I was going to surprise you with that tonight. People just keep listening to it. Adam Hodgins of MFF fame and the Go Figure YouTube show, he said he's listened to our Collateral episode 3 times.
Yeah, he was telling me that he thought that was one for the ages, so I was really, really glad to hear that.
He likes your limousine service.
Yeah, I still can't. We gotta get the brain trust back together and start brainstorming some more ideas. I can't believe that didn't work out.
Yeah,
who would have thought that hiring retired NBA players and paying them $300,000 per year each to serve champagne in the back of our limos wouldn't have attracted more business.
And to carry around an aquarium like on a trailer hitch full of like dolphins and sea turtles that costs us about $500,000 a day, just because of the salt and the trainers and the permits and the glass. We had to make glass that wouldn't shatter. Like it should have worked.
We bought all that bulletproof glass in bulk too, thinking that that would make it easier. But now we've just got this warehouse full of all these panes of glass that we don't know what to do with.
And we didn't know that great white sharks can't live in captivity well. How are we supposed to know?
Yeah. Who would have known that wouldn't have worked out?
3 stolen dolphins. We get sued. We'll be back. We still have
just need some small tweaks. Just some tweaks, and that business will be back up and running again.
Yeah. We should probably sell that bulletproof glass we have. And we should probably sell that shed. And the warehouse we still own.
Get our yachts out of the impound.
Yeah, we have debtors we need to pay. All right, man. Thank you for joining me.
Anytime, dude.
All right, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, and for Phil Briggs, this is Movie Stones of Flicks. We'll see you next week.